Home. It's where you build your legacy, where traditions are started, seeds are planted, meals are shared, and stories are told. We are Chris and Natalie Carpenter, owners of Story Real Estate, and our team of top agents helps people find homes in Moscow, Idaho, and around the country.
Have you thought about a move? Contact us to get connected with a top agent who shares your values and puts your family first. Or reach out to us about our Moscow relocation guide.
Wherever you're looking to go, we can help you find home. Call us at Story Real Estate or visit us at storyrealestate.com and start building your legacy.
Once again, I'm left doing Gabe's job. Welcome to Cross Politic. I'm the Chocolate Knox. Pastor Tony.
Where is Gabe?
Gabe is...
You're not Gabe.
I didn't know he wasn't going to be here.
Yeah, well,
he set this up and then left.
Yeah, he texted me about this and it suddenly didn't show up.
Okay, did he tell you what we were going to be talking about?
A little bit.
Okay, all right.
Hey, this year our Fight, Laugh, Feast conference is at the Ark Encounter in Kentucky on the politics of 6-day creation. The politics of 6-day creation is the difference between a fixed standard of justice and a careening standard of justice. It's the difference between the corrosive relativism that creates mobs and anarchy and the freedom of objectivity, truth, and beauty and due process. The politics of 6-day creation establishes the authority and the sufficiency of God's word for all of life. From what is a man or what is a woman? When does human life begin? How is human society best organized? Well, it all starts in Genesis 1. So come here, Ken Ham, Pastor Doug Wilson, Dr. Ben Merkel, Dr. Gordon Wilson. We got a lot of Wilsons going on in this house right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and they're all related. Oh, my goodness. I'll be speaking. Joe Rigney's going to be there. And...
Oh, yeah, we can talk about this. Yeah.
Michael Foster.
Michael Foster. I wasn't thinking about him, but he's definitely going to be there. But we have our conference.
The live show.
The live show. Can we talk about that?
Should we just do what Gabe does and do it?
Since he's not here, let's be Gabe.
Yeah, and so,
Stephen Wolf's going to be there.
Stephen Wolf.
Yeah, we're going to talk Christian nationalism. Pastor Wilson's going to be there.
And Joel Webbin.
Joel Webbin is going to be there.
Yeah.
Joel Webbin. Oh, those such a troublemakers.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to try and see if we can, we're thinking about how to organize this. I want to get them to apply Christian nationalism practically all the way out, not just have the conversation of whether or not this should be a Christian nation. Duh, all of them should be.
Right.
But what does that look like practically, and work that out? Because I think I'm going to make them all theonomous.
All right. Yeah. Anyways, we're going to be there. We'll have that live Cross Politics show. Mark your calendars, October 11th through the 14th.
Oof.
October 11th through the 14th. We're going to be fighting, laughing, and feasting. We kick it all off with beer and psalms the first day. We have this amazing lineup of speakers, our Rowdy Christian merch, Sabbath feast to wrap it up, maybe an infant baptism while we're at it. They keep writing that in
because
there.
it feels so good to say.
I know. I mean, we are at the Ark, I guess. We're at the original baptism.
We're talking about baptisms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Visit fightlaughfeast.com for more information today. Hey, we're grateful to have with us Vanessa Rosa. Did I say that right? Rosa? All right. Well, she's an entertaining, innovative streamer on the platform of Twitch known as Gothix. Oh, my goodness. A beloved member of the streaming world, she was suddenly exiled from her community of creative partners and colleagues when she stated an opinion she did not know was unacceptable in their eyes. Vanessa Gothix, thank you for joining us on Cross Politic.
Thank you for having me. Your feed is kind of laggy, so I'm sorry if I'm catching like every other sentence, but I'm great. Happy to be here.
Great. Well, great to have you. And if we need to repeat anything for you, please feel free to just ask.
That's true.
And we have with us Graeme Wilson. Graeme is a longtime resident of Moscow, creative genius, I hear, part of a creative agency called Small Media Large.
You got it.
Did I get it right?
You got it right.
And you got to fill us in. What else?
What other things that I do?
And why are you here with us with Vanessa?
So I'm here because I directed the documentary that is about Vanessa, and it's just called Gothix. We just ran with her name as the title for this documentary. And I'm here because I made it. I made the thing. I reached out to her, and we got this thing started 2.5 years ago. Okay. And we're hopefully coming up on release soon.
Yeah, so the way I found your film was because I was going down Loor's list of things to fund.
Oh, okay.
And so I was going down, I was like, okay, all right, interesting, all right. And then I found this one, because some of them are like for kids stuff. I'm like, okay, that's great. But then there's like, what's for dad? Right. Like, what's going to be some grown folk stuff? And I go down and I find Gothix. I'm like, oh, well, the title has me. So I want to show you guys what I saw in the trailer. Let's play the trailer of Gothix.
Okay.
there is no redemption. There is no conversation. It is whatever we say about you is truth, and you're done.
One friend did it with us. He heard our side of the story and he was just like, oh wow, this is completely understandable. I see where you guys are coming from. Then he writes us later on.
Whoa.
We weren't the right type of black friend.
I brakes on that for a while. I don't know how much out of this time I need that I'm at right now. I need to clear my head. I haven't been feeling myself. I think it's time for me to take a break. Like I just feel like I'm kind of floating without any purpose right now. They brought up my boyfriend. They wanted to know if he was white, because if he was, that would have made sense to them of why I was acting like this.
What?
Seeing people automatically say, okay, the reason you have a problem with this is because you're racist is an issue for me. I said, we need to stop doing this. I'm talking in a matter of 24 hours, I became...
Over the course of 4 days, I had more racism towards me from other people that looked like me than in my entire existence on this planet. What's the next step once they realize I can't, attack someone on social media and make them disappear? So what do we got to do now? Is physical assault okay? And I just see like these pools of blood, and I'm like, okay, I'm panicking now.
So,
oh man!
So when you start asking like, what kind of films need to be made, or you want to be like, take my money, I want to see it.
How much do you have on me? I'm right here.
He's accepting.
So I guess Vanessa, let's start with you. I just got to know, why do you hate black people so much?
Well, I was born this way, so it's just in my nature. It's in my genetics. I also suspect it's a Rhode Island thing, but I actually don't hate black people. I care deeply about humanity in general, and I think the most unloving thing you can do is not criticize the bad aspects of how someone lives their lives. And I see that a lot with I think the collectiveness of the black community in particular. It's everyone does what they want, and you're not allowed to criticize or question any of it.
So wait, I saw we just watched the trailer. Yeah. This is the first, I'm sorry, I haven't been following. I just found you on Twitter. I'm one of your newest followers.
New followers.
But what did you say? What did you say that got you in trouble?
So I made the mistake of criticizing the social backlash behind The Little Mermaid, because Disney was going to make a new Little Mermaid movie that just came out. They turned her black, and people, including myself, were confused by that. Like, why is Ariel black? I thought she was white. Yeah. And the narrative was, well, if you have an issue with this, you must be racist. And I thought that was so wrong, because there could be a multitude of reasons of why people don't like the casting. And that was enough for Black Twitter.
Okay, so
I can't believe it was over Little Mermaid.
Yep.
Okay, I want to work this out a little bit. Right. So help me understand for something. You were in kind of the woke world. Were you consider yourself woke at the time? Where were you at? What was your position?
I feel like I was mid-woke.
Okay.
It wasn't that bad.
Okay. So were you into
medium woke?
So, okay, here, let's find out. Were you BLM person or no?
No BLM person.
Okay. So part of my question was, how did this narrative pierce the woke veil for you? But you weren't all the way in, so part of your head could hear it while the other part couldn't. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I had I was Trump and conservative derangement syndrome, didn't like Republicans, thought that, Democrats were my savior. So I had a lot of like the political leanings of wokeness, but some of the social stuff I wasn't on board with.
Okay. All right. Oh man, this is going to be interesting. Okay. So I saw the film last night. And as I was watching the film, Graeme, I realized that you guys started making this film, but it didn't seem like it was intended to be the story that it turned out to be. No. So when did you guys start making the film? I guess, why did you decide even to make this film in the beginning?
Yeah.
And then what happened that turned it towards where it ended up at?
So we decided to, or I should say I decided to pursue this film because I had lost a very large corporate client beginning of 2021 because of some social justice warrior stuff. And after sort of being freed from that contract because of it, I had this feeling of whatever project I do next needs to be something that matters. And I had just discovered Vanessa like 2 weeks before that.
Okay.
Found her channel on YouTube. God bless the YouTube algorithm this one time, that it introduced me to a video that was titled "White Privilege is a Crutch," and it was for a pretty ambiguous title. White privilege is a crutch. That could go either way.
Yeah.
Right.
And I saw the thumbnail of her face on there, and black woman with the side shave haircut and the piercings and tattoos, and I'm like, okay, well, this is a liberal who's about to tell me that I am evil for being white. But I was just curious enough to click on it to see, like, okay, well, what's the argument?
Yeah.
What's the argument here? And I click on it, and I hear the complete opposite. I hear just this very concise, coherent argument from the more conservative position. And I was like, who is this woman? And I went to her channel and started watching all of her videos. I had that happen 2 weeks before I lost this client.
Okay.
And my first thought was, I would love to make a documentary about that chick. And so I started reaching out every which way I could to try and get her to agree to this. And it was like a week till I got in contact. And after that, it was a few conversations, and then she was down, and I was in Rhode Island before we knew it. But that was beginning of 2021. I was in Rhode Island February of 2021, starting to film this. And the original idea was I wanted to tell the story of someone who still sort of aesthetically identified with much of the liberal left side of the culture of America, but just had this massive political awakening because of this absurd cancellation that happened, knowing that the story could change, and the story did change as we were filming it. And so yeah, we started filming at the beginning of 2021.
So this is like pandemic strong right now.
Pretty strong.
Yeah. And so what changed, Vanessa, in the middle of this?
A lot. I found Christ in the middle of it.
Whoa. That's a lot.
That's like everything.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Word on the street is if you keep consistently pursuing truth, eventually you end up on the cross. And I thought people were joking when they said that. No, it's real.
Very real.
Wow. Wait. So let's go to your side, Vanessa, real quick. I know there's more. We need to finish this.
Yeah.
Let's finish this. But so random white guy from Idaho reaches out to you. And what are you thinking?
What a weirdo. Who is this man? I'm not going to respond.
And she didn't for a little bit.
What made you respond? What made you think maybe I should give this guy a chance?
He was persistent, and then it wasn't until we actually had our first Zoom call where I saw his family walking in the background, and I'm like, okay, he's normal, so I guess I can trust him.
I'm not an incel.
Yeah. Right. So, but then you just dropped this bomb. You said, I found Christ in the middle of this. I mean, I don't know how the story goes together, but can you tell us that story?
Yeah, I mean, I think with my political awakening, I was, during that journey, I was already dealing with a lot of psychological turmoil because of my cancellation and things like that.
Yeah.
And I never quite addressed that. And in fact, I feel like my mental health in some ways got worse because as I was pursuing truth, I'm going down these rabbit holes and understanding exactly what's going on in the world with all the corruption and all the lies and stuff like that. So for me, it's like my mental health was getting worse over time. And I found myself just getting so encapsulated in despair, and I didn't know how to get out of it. And so when we were filming, that's when Graeme started sharing the gospel with me and really challenging me on what I was doing to address all of those problems. Because at the time, I was in this cycle of going to therapy and smoking weed and thinking that that's somehow going to address all of the problems I'm dealing with, and it wasn't.
What did was it just little by little, or were there any particular conversations that you had with Graeme where something clicked?
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think it was just the idea of, as I said, him challenging me on these things. Like, okay, so you've been depressed for a while. What have you done to deal with those things? Are those things working? And every time that he would catch up with me to find out how I'm doing it, so I was sort of like in this same state of mind, no progression, just doing the same things over and over again. And I think little by little, our conversation and his willingness to talk to me about Christ, because prior to then, I didn't really like having these talks. I was a little bit of like an agnostic, but in some ways, when people would bring up God, I'm just like, I don't want to talk about this. This is weird. I feel like you have an agenda. Mm-hmm. But the way that he presented the gospel was so different to me. And it was unlike what I was used to. And I think that's why I was more warmed up to the discussions than I would have been before.
What was so different about it?
He just seemed normal. Like it wasn't racist. Like in high school, I used to watch people on the news, like Westboro Baptist Church, for example.
Okay.
And if that's all I see of Christianity, I just assume angry people. Right. And he wasn't angry. It's like he had questions and genuine concerns about how I was living my life, but it wasn't like this just condemnation of my every existence. And it was just so different from what I was expecting.
So you're not Westboro Baptist. Congratulations, Graeme.
I didn't say I wasn't.
You just didn't act like it at the time.
Didn't, no one asked me.
Okay.
You tricked her.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Real good.
So Vanessa, as I was watching the film, there seemed to be a trajectory. It seemed like it started with just like, well, everybody who might have a problem with The Little Mermaid might not actually be a racist, but you felt like there was a bunch of racism out there already. But maybe, is that fair enough to say? Like, you felt like Trump might have been racist and that all that stuff. How could you support Trump at that time? You know, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think, with racism in general, like I still hold this belief, like if racism is out there, it's out there and there's not much you can do about it. And I think with the context I have now being a believer, it's I understand, well, if you really wanted to fix that, you have to change someone's heart. And you don't do that by marching with signs and putting up black squares on your Instagram. That doesn't solve anything. And I care more about what people actually do than what they think, even though what they think sometimes relates to their actions. But, if Trump truly was a racist, okay, but what do the policies look like? Are the policies contrary to what I think a racist president would be doing? No, I think the black community was thriving more with him in office than what we have now.
Yep.
Okay, so then there's
that'll get you canceled.
I was going to say that right there just probably got us canceled too.
You're welcome.
We don't need any help in that area, Vanessa. We do not need any help in that area. So walk me through the trajectory. So you got this. You start dealing with Little Mermaid, and then was there another subject that you started dealing with until you keep going and you realize there is no reasoning with people, because you were on the team. You were with everybody. You agreed with them with these issues, except you took a difference in this one little area, and that was enough to unravel their story to feel like you didn't need to talk anymore. What's that progression?
Yeah, so I think that like the starting point was definitely Little Mermaid and maybe a few like micro things here and there, but it wasn't anything that I really thought about. Like in retrospect, I can see how it was all kind of leading up to it. But I think the BLM with the mixture of COVID was the thing that really set it off, because I'm seeing people be very reactionary and almost like, if I had to compare it to something, it's like a child where people are angry about something and they think resorting to violence and throwing things is somehow going to make things better. And then on the one hand, I'm hearing, okay, you got to stay home and flatten the curve because this virus is going to kill everyone. But hey, the BLM protesters, they can go and do that because racism is a epidemic and it's a public health crisis. So they're okay. But MAGA supporters, you got to stay home because you're super spreaders. And that contradiction, I'm like, something is off about this.
That's why I said the same thing. We were talking about this recently, and I had major doubts and concerns about the initial pandemic response, and all my flashing lights and warning lights, buzzers are going off. But But following the George Floyd thing and the riots, that was when it was just on full display. When you have, especially in the churches, you had all these churches not meeting, all these pastors saying, stay home, and then a bunch of the same pastors went out and joined the BLM marches, and I'm like, oh,
despicable.
Right, these are the essential gatherings. Here's your holy gathering, but
pretty terrible.
Graeme, so I want to go back to the question that Knox asked earlier about the trajectory of the film.
Yeah.
So she becomes a Christian in the middle of this film. Did you see that coming? Did you see that happening? How much of your grandpa did you was going? were you channeling here?
I did, Goku Spirit Bomb, style, trying to call on. No. So yeah, I knew it was a possibility.
Yeah.
From before we started filming, that coming up on this whole ordeal, I was just praying about, Lord, give me wisdom about what to say and when to speak, and prayed for patience about all of it, because it was a year-long thing.
Yeah.
While I knew that even if she, didn't find God, that there was still the story here of someone waking up from the lies of the left.
Right.
And so it was like, that's worth pursuing.
Yeah.
That's worth pursuing. I want to pursue that. And I basically finished the structure of the documentary beginning of 2022, and her then boyfriend, now husband, Saul, became a Christian right then.
Oh, did he beat you, Vanessa? He beat you?
Yes.
Oh, what a man to lead us home.
I thanked God for that.
Yeah.
I thanked God that it was Saul who found,
and also like through conversations with you, or okay.
Yeah. And then it was probably a few weeks after that Vanessa came to the Lord, and I had just finished the structure of the documentary. So from the beginning of the doc to the end of the doc, it's all structured in this particular narrative. And I'd been working on it for a year at that point.
Yeah.
And then they become Christians, and I'm like, I'm not putting it in. It was like, I was too late. And, it was too late.
Sorry, Lord.
Yeah.
My story is not changing.
People will find out that she found the Lord. Like, they'll watch the doc, and then they'll go follow her on YouTube, and then they'll see these videos talking about God. And I'm like, okay, that's wonderful.
Right.
But then, all of the tightening up of a documentary, all of the little bits and pieces and the fine tuning of the documentary just take so long. And then by the time another year later, it's this, she's already grown in her faith a lot more than a typical Christian does in a year, as well as Saul, like both of them. And it was like hearing from enough people who I was screening the documentary to at that time, I was hearing, the ending is fine, but it feels like it could use more catharsis. And I'm like, well, I have this great opportunity to use this, the silver bullet. And I was like, okay, I need to put it in there. And so we flew out, Vanessa and Saul, one last time out here to Moscow, and we filmed a final interview talking about that.
It's so funny, like so many Christian filmmakers are like trying to put that in.
Right.
Like they're trying they're trying to do the gospel track at the end.
Right.
And it's funny that like your eye was on the ball of I want to tell the story.
Yeah. What's the story here?
And the Lord sort of pushed you into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, for one, I think it was a matter of time that I didn't know it was going to take this long to tighten it up.
Yeah, right.
And that it was a matter of patience. But I was praying throughout. I was praying like, Lord, please give me wisdom to know what to do here. I'm going to keep working on this and just make it clear. And that it happened when it needed to happen. And I've been very loose-handed about this whole thing. And at that time, when they first became Christians, I was loose-handed about it, but it just didn't feel right.
Right.
Thank God that it took as long as it did, because now it's there.
Vanessa, I saw the trailer and I tweeted out on Twitter. I was like, this is as a filmmaker myself, when I see something that's good, I'm like, oh, I want to see that. And to know that I know the filmmaker was even more surprising. And I had seen because I remember watching, we tried to get on Twitch. Was a horrible place for us. We got no traction. I think it's one thing to be like to stream something live. It's a whole nother thing to be a streamer. Right. That's a whole different kind of culture. It takes a whole different type of entertainment. Yeah. And people just think, well, we'll just go stream live on that platform. It's like, no.
It's not the same thing.
You don't. There's am I right, Vanessa? There's a different form of entertainment between a streamer and somebody who streams.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree.
Yeah, so I don't. Maybe you can tell us about what it takes to do some of that stuff, but it's just different culture. But when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh my goodness, I want to watch the film. The problem was no one can watch the film because whoever has money at Loor ain't funded it yet. What's wrong with you people? Go fund the film. If you're on Loor TV, fund the film.
There has to be a few of you watching this right now. I know who you are. All right? So, we need it funded.
Yeah.
I'm on Loor.
Do you have a
and I don't remember seeing it. Maybe I didn't scroll down far enough.
Maybe not.
It's probably my fault.
Yeah. I'm gonna blame Graeme.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing because after I got done watching, I watched it late last night. I was like, I have no idea how to tell people to go watch this right now because it's not funded. And so because it's not funded, it's not out where everybody can see it. But it's a great story. Yeah. It's a great story, and it was great filmmaking. I just got to say, filmmaking, that's the first thing that caught my eye was a cinematic touch to it. And I was like, I can breathe easy. and so I feel like I can trust this person to tell me a story that wouldn't waste my time. Yeah. And that's immediately what I saw when I saw the trailer, right? And the way it was designed, I was like, oh, this is great. And then knowing you have a storyteller who is actually a part of the whole thing, and just go to Loor, fund it. It's Gothix, right? Is it the Gothix or just Gothix?
It's just Gothix right now. Yeah, that's all it is.
Vanessa,
there it is. I found it.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna give him my loot right now. There we go.
Okay, so
it's going up right now.
Vanessa, I have to ask you, what is it now since God's changed your whole life upside down? How do you stream? What is the culture because your culture is different on streaming. Most Christians aren't in that culture. What is that world for you like now?
You know, I'm still trying to figure it out, if I'm being totally honest with you, because my content, it just goes through all of these fluctuations. And then it's like, I would say the majority of my audience don't believe in God.
Right.
So it's been very interesting to see the reception, and I'm trying to still find a way that I can sort of tie it in all together, because the majority of people that started following me wanted my reactions to like the world news and stuff like that. And, I think I've progressed so much in my faith now where now I recognize the underlying problem to all of the world's issues is really the rejection of God and moral relativism. And I think that I'm trying to get people to recognize that without thinking, I'm a crazy Bible thumping lady on YouTube. So it's been odd, I would say.
And so it's kind of finding your space.
I'm glad you're there.
Yeah, I'm glad you're there too.
Yeah, that's neat.
Because I was thinking about it, you're having to carve out a lane that doesn't exist right now in that world. Christians aren't into the streaming world. They're hardly into the gaming world, and if they are into the game world, there's only a few people that they'll go and watch or engage with.
Right.
So then how do you reach that audience? And since this is your full-time job, it makes things really complicated for you. Right?
Yep.
Goodness. Man, I'm excited to see what happens next.
Yeah, so Loor TV, Gothix, go fund it.
Yeah.
Where are you still streaming on Twitch?
No.
Okay. So how do people just YouTube? How do people follow you and engage with what you're doing?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Gothix TV. You can also go to www.gothix.tv to find all my links. But yeah, I'm around. I'm on the internet. Look me up.
Don't forget Rumble. You've been doing a lot more of that.
Rumble as well. I keep forgetting. It's like the stepsister child of something.
You ain't lying. Yeah. Have you been paying attention to the whole manosphere conversation and kind of the pushback against the anti-feminist movement? Are you paying attention to that at all?
A little bit. It's wild. There's a lot going on there.
I'm just wondering, what's your take on kind of like Pearl Davis and kind of how she's pushing the envelope opposed to feminism, but kind of this Christless fight against feminism?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think in some ways she has a lot of good points. In some other ways, it falls short, and it's not enough. You need Christ to send home the message. But I think from my perspective, I think a lot of the things that I find distressing isn't necessarily the fact that she has the opinions that she has. It's the fact that a lot of people who seem to be taking the moral high ground are attacking her in the same ways that I find is very similar to people attacking me, which is a little bit bizarre. bizarre. You know, so I don't know what that's about, but you know, I think the rebuttal to bad advice is good advice, and bad philosophy is good philosophy. So, you know, if you can come up with a better argument than something that she has, just do it. You don't got to tear people down. It's weird.
You know, it's
that childish fit stuff again that she's talking about, where it's like, you don't have an argument, so scream. You just scream louder. Like, the kids in the toy department, you know, they don't get the toy they want. They lay down and kick and scream, and it's just childish.
It only helps the position of the person who made the initial argument. That,
as long as you don't give in to the fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. You know, if you stand there and smile and be like, what are you doing?
You're a good parent.
Yeah.
Be a good parent.
Be a good parent.
Parent your children well.
Very grateful for both of you.
Great to have you guys.
Everybody needs to see the film. Thank you for coming on Cross Politic very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
if you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next time, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
It is the duty of the free man to resist tyranny at every turn. Every man will either watch his freedom stripped away or take action to protect what he loves. Introducing the A3, the newest revolutionary body armor from Armored Republic. The A3 is the new standard for lightweight multi-hit body armor. A3 plates are incredibly light at 4.6 pounds. The patented design captures fragmentation while remaining multi-hit capable. The A3 will stop up to M80 ball, yet comes in at only 0.7 inches thick. The A3 is the thinnest NIJ .06 compliant or certified composite standalone plate that includes the drop test. The A3 is the first of its kind, patent pending, that combines an alloy strike face with polyethylene backing, revolutionizing body armor technology by providing strength and durability while remaining sleek and maneuverable. The A3 is the new standard in lightweight body armor. The fight against tyranny just got stronger.